several weeks, but I'm back here with the Geula Doulas, and we're going to talk about miracles, how to create access to miracles. I will start by saying it's something so much, I mean, it's always something on my mind, and I'm sure that's true of Geula and Ani as well. As part of the Geula, it's a huge bridge to the Geula, and the Rebbe specifically said that we need to start doing miracles by our nature.
Yeah.
So that's something to talk about. Also, I do not see the chat here. What is going on?
Let me see if I'm live on YouTube.
I do see it. Okay. Okay, we're waiting for people to come on anyway, but I'm not waiting. So I'm also working on a book. I was working on a book before and I got waylaid, and now I'm working on another book. First, which is all about choosing life and how to get out of the matrix of sickness and death and aging and all that. So
just the keys to reality. Oh no. Now Shifra popped out of this timeline.
Hi, Shirley Q. Hi, Karen Farrell.
I'm writing a lot about miracles, and I'm thinking a lot about miracles, and I'm really, really asking myself some deep questions about, like, where are the doors? What are the catalysts? What can shift and change? Because we know, and I'll stop with this and turn it over to you guys, but we know that we are here to create the vessels for that new light that's already in the world. And that's how it comes in. So yeah, that's what I had to say. Talk about miracles. I know this.
So yesterday I made a small video and I realized miracles are in the tiniest things, and they snowball, meaning I wanted to make a video. I go to a hiding place for my lunch hour where it's like behind the garage, like it's like an abandoned little place behind a parking lot. And I was sitting on the grass and it was like wet. So I was like, Hashem, I would really love a rock to sit on. And there was no rocks. Like in the vicinity, like it was a parking lot. And like there's no big, nothing. And then I walked a little bit. And then behind this curled up piece of fence was like this big rock. And I was like, I think I could pick it. And I picked it up and I brought it back to my place. And that's a miracle. And that miracle makes more miracles.
Rock.
It was a perfect size for my tush. It was my tush size rock. And I realized that when you appreciate these small miracles and really feel into them, like feel like, oh my God, I just experienced a miracle, it invites the matching reality for greater and greater miracles. And right? Like Einstein said, you could view life two ways, that everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. Every breath is a miracle. So I think acknowledging the miracles opens up to acknowledging bigger and bigger. That's the secret of miracle making, in my opinion.
The Rebbe actually talked about that. He said one of the reasons that Geula is so delayed is because we have not sufficiently acknowledged the miracles.
Oh, and also Ani's big on this. I want to just bring up, I think that there has been a vibe in prayer to beg for miracles. The kaching for miracles.
Absolutely.
And once we change the energy to wonder instead of kaching, to find kaching, Ani, go.
Kaching is a Yiddish word that literally means cooking, like you're stewing and not like all your emotions about it. And like we want to kach not in the like, oh, I need the miracle, oh, like the emotional drama piece. We want to kach instead in the feeling of empowerment and what it's going to be like to be in that expanded reality. So we want to kach in what it is we're actually trying to bring in, and not in. I think that there's a really implicitly wired sense that I have to be a huge victim and look at what a victim I am in order like that, then God will have pity on me and maybe send a miracle, as opposed to like, let's unify with that higher empowered frequency and understand that like the Rebbe says we're generating it, like the koach of Hashem, the power of Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey, like of God, of Atmas, of God's essence is in us, and we're generating them. So we have to really bring ourselves into a space of feeling unified with that.
I agree completely. The only thing I would add or challenge a little bit is the idea that it's that something is wrong or was wrong by the way that we've prayed, because I think that I know that we're shifting from one state to another. So what
No,
was wrong?
it was correct. That was correct. It was correct when that was sincere.
Right,
In
right.
Gullus, it was correct because that was aligned and
We didn't
sincere.
have the power.
Now
didn't have
because we crossed the threshold, now we can, now that stance is more of the victimhood emotional cussing. Like we didn't have the power then. And this is the metaphor that I give about understanding the difference between the way we did things in Gullus wasn't wrong. It was correct and it was holy. It was min hashemaim. It was like the highest levels of the service we were doing. So look at the manna that we had in the desert. Each day is a specific unit of revelation with a specific energies coming in and specific parts of ourselves that need to be expressed and parts of God that needs to express, a specific service that needs to be done. So that was kind of reflected in the manna that each day you would collect only for that day, right? But each day's manna, that was minhash, that was from the spiritual worlds. That was like holy of holies. There is man literally in the Kadosh HaKadosh, in the Holy of Holies. But if you tried to leave that mun over for the next day, it rotted and became full of maggots, right? It was no longer shaykh to the next day's revelation. So if we're trying to bring in yesterday's holiness, when there's a whole new level of reality, a whole new set of circumstances, whole new power, whole new way of being, and we're trying to drag that into today's revelation, essentially, what happens? It rots. It gets full of worms and maggots. And we see that. And this isn't a bunch of people sitting around being like, I don't want things to be hard anymore, so I'm going to pretend that we can manifest and do whatever we want. We have it on the authority of the leader of the generation, of the Mashiach, that this is the avoda now. And we know from this, the circumstances of human reality are not an accident. The circumstances of human reality, our collective psyche, our cultures, the technology that's been released into the world, knowledge of nature, of human nature, of the mind, of all of these things. This is all the hashgacha process that we talk about. Every piece of it is Hashem saying, here's what we have to work with. So we can't relate to any of it as an accident. We have to boldly step into it and be like, whoa, this is, our playing field has literally cosmically expanded, and not to be afraid of that.
Right. And also there's so much here. There's so much here to unpack. I wish we had, this should be a 3-hour discussion at least, but it won't be, but it should be. So you're talking about how the idea that when something holy needs to be replaced by something new, holy, maybe holier or holier
the
for
Rebbe
the time.
talked about that also. Yesterday's holiness, is not today's holiness. We have to
constantly refresh. You got to hit the refresh.
Yeah, and becoming holier doesn't mean repressing more. And I feel like we have a lot of programming from the dark side that means
hang on. I'm going to challenge you again. That's also the old paradigm. We know that straight from the Tanya. It was a mitzvah. We were told that was the best we could do because that was the best we could do. That's the avodah of a Beinani, to suppress the darkness.
The darkness, yes. But I'm talking about, but the way it's turned culturally is how repressed could I be? And that's the definition of holiness.
New. All I'm saying, I agree with every word you're saying. It's just that this is new. The time
I also think
that we were not able to elevate things at their roots.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I think Escafia, I know it gets translated into English as repression or suppress. I would say more containment, maybe.
Well, I have a problem because I can't go back to shul. This is my problem. The shul, especially Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur with the kaching and the pleading and the begging and the chatzasi. This might be I don't want to sound like a heretic, but I'm super done with that energy of I literally stay home. I can't go. I know this is maybe not where you want to go with the discussion.
No, not at all. Oh, it's not the only place I want to go because I want to talk about miracles, but I agree with you totally. The last year,
we're women, Davenet. We're women, so Davenet at home. We don't have to be with a minion. Davenet at home.
I don't do the chatasis anymore. I can't. I literally, the new energy prevents me from doing this. I'm
I feel like that's EFT.
Yeah, it's the tapping. It's true. The harder you do it, the better it feels.
Get it out. But I looked around at Yom Kippur. I'm I don't want to say I'm done. I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do this.
I remember you messaging me after Yom Kippur. I remember you messaged me after. You're like, I can't do this anymore.
But it's not doing, it's the energy, it's the resonance with which you're doing. Like, and I saw many people who were in shul with me in synagogue felt exactly the same way. It's like there is a global shift. It's just that we don't, because we're moving into the future and away from the past and the holiness of the past as well as the darkness of the past. So it requires a lot of, like, what does it require?
Right.
I'm writing about, and that I want, we want to illuminate here. Like so it requires understanding that there's a new holiness at all times. It requires being willing to shift energy and take chances in that sense. It requires being able to be more in the present, but like creating from the future, drawing in something from the future. When you have a whole tradition, even if you didn't, we all have our traditions though, but when you have a whole tradition that you relied on, even if it's not a Jewish tradition per se, but we have ways of being that humans have relied on, that's what we were limited to. And now we're not. So we're in this in-between place. Like, how do we change that? Anyway.
Yeah. How do we change shul? Like, how do we, it's like, I'm still like, since I'm a little girl, I'm counting the pages till it's over. I'm still doing this. I can't sit there. I don't
think you need to sit there. I think there are very few times when you have to be whatever. That's in my opinion.
I just feel bad for the men too. Like, why the men have to be subjected to this? We have to, I don't know how to figure out a new change. We're just, I guess, energetically invited in and hope the world catches up.
But besides ritual, that's more problematic because it's institutionalized and not in every case do we have the authority. We don't have the authority to change halacha, for example. That's going to happen with the Beit Din HaGadol, the great Sanhedrin in Jerusalem in the future, according to the Rebbe. But meanwhile, we each have to make our own adaptations. But in general, what about miracles in our lives? Like, seriously, like the Rebbe said that maybe we don't have to die. If we can reach the state of that, I mean, that's about the most extreme miracle that you can imagine, right? That's why I bring that up. Also, I'm obsessed with it.
Me too, because I think part of our talk list, or part of our mission is to activate that for sure, without doubt.
Too.
Yeah, we're gonna figure it out.
My mindset right now is that I'm not dying. I'm taking this body.
Right. It's an upgrade.
We're gonna be here forever. Yeah.
So how does that happen? How do we upgrade from something that has planned obsolescence into something that is self-renewing? And is that our job? And how is it that our biggest challenges, which is, this is not just a concept, but this is something I comfort myself with a lot when I'm stuck, that I know I can, and when I connect, I hear that coming to me also, that the reason that some of us are born with like major obstacles on whatever level is because when something's easy, you don't create a new pathway. When something's hard, you're either going to go back, like just give up, or you're going to dig in so deep that you create a new door, and I think we are way pavers.
Yeah.
Right. We got to glitch the matrix. So somebody was saying this yesterday, to create a new reality, you have to, it's like Groundhog's Day, we're living the same day. You have to throw something absolutely new into the matrix to glitch it out.
Yeah. Make a new choice.
What does that mean to you, Geula, specifically?
It means like, if I'm going left, go right. It means do the opposite. It means if, it's just when you're given two options, do the one that opens up a fresh portal for something new. Don't do the familiar. That's, I mean, specifically, it's so hard to come up with specific examples.
I mean, Dr. Joe Dispenza says that, brush your teeth with your opposite hand, put your watch on a different wrist.
Yeah, make a new choice.
But there've got to be, like, seriously, like, I'm in a dilemma. I'm in a bind because I got the word to write this book from someone in Tzfat, who I do consider a seer. He comes from a lineage of Kabbalists. His grandfather's brother was the mashpia, the spiritual mentor for the Baba Sali. And he told me I have to write this book. I was writing a book on my work, create Awakening Divine Power. And he told me I have to write this book on choosing life. And I resisted for months. And I finally leaned into it. And now, it's like a documentation of what it takes to actually break through the matrix. Only the thing is, I haven't really broken through the matrix. I have in certain ways, but in other ways I have not yet. So this is like every day I'm thinking, okay. How does this work? How does this work? You can tell me.
Can I add to that for a second?
Please.
So I met this girl in the grocery store. I did the opposite of what the old me would have done. I met a girl in the grocery store. She's like, hi, I watch your videos. And she's like, there's this energy healer that I think that you should reach out to. So I was like, why? She said, because she only works with people on the front lines of fighting the war for Mashiach, front lines of Geula.
Wow.
So I said, I took that as a compliment. I'm like, thank you. And then I sat with it and I said, I don't want to get in touch with somebody who doesn't want to do healing on everyone, you know, who's so elitist in their mindset. Like she only wants to work with this specific. I was like, that didn't resonate with me anymore. That felt almost a little bit ego driven. And the old me would have wanted to reach out to her to get a confirmation. Am I a Geula worker for real? And I would wanted to hear from my ego, am I on the front lines? And I said, you know what? It's ego. I'm not doing it. And I didn't reach out. And that's glitching the matrix because I didn't need that. I was able to validate.
Against your way of being.
Yeah, I didn't need any external validation from this energy healer. I felt into it. And that is an example of glitching the matrix.
So that was it was an opportunity that came to you to step out of the need for external validation. Yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah, exactly right.
And it's so interesting because when I hear it, I'm thinking, of course, you know, it's like if she's for real and she has a certain power, then of course she would want to use it for people who are going to have the most influence on other people because that's just maximizing your effect. But so interesting that for you, whether that's true or not, I don't know. But for you, the new doorway is to say no, thank you. For somebody else, it might be
reaching inside. I don't need anyone to tell me who I am or what I am anymore.
Right. And that's the Geula, and that was the Geula portal for you.
So your story reminded me, Shifra, because I was like, you don't need that dude to tell you which book to write. You write the book you want to write. Ooh.
Yeah, except I think I came to the conclusion that he's right. Like I'm feeling.
Okay. Are you really sure though? Are you sure?
I'm sure. I'm sure. It's just a big challenge. Like it's not just a challenge of writing the book, it's a challenge of breaking through the matrix through writing the book. You know, that's what I'm here for. What else am I here for? That's what I've been thinking about for all these decades.
I wonder if it's possible to switch into the assumption that we've already actually broken through the matrix and we just have to figure out how to operate.
See, I think it's the same thing. Maybe it's
not. No, because it's this sense of like I'm not there yet, and there's like this fight to break through, as opposed to like, well, the Rebbe said like Geula is literally here b'pashta, so like in a simple sense, like just like on the most basic levels, like Geula is here. So let's assume we broke out of the matrix already.
Yeah, but then so how would you phrase it? There's clearly a gap between the potential that exists here right now and
that's about uncovering then. So that's about uncovering the map that already exists on a much deeper level within us of how to operate outside of the matrix. So as opposed to like fighting to break out of the matrix, it's like, okay, now I have to really actually go really deep into myself and say, okay, where's that instruction manual for operating outside of the matrix that's in me already? But I have to journey deep into myself because there's that level within me that already knows how to operate there. That's always lived outside of the matrix. Maybe that's the Yechida. And I have to let that come in because she knows how to operate outside of the matrix.
Yechida to me sounds like sovereignty. I know it doesn't translate like that, but it sounds like the word sovereignty. Yechida. Yeah, well, I mean, that is kind of the ultimate sovereignty because it's the part of us that's one with the infinite creator at all times.
Yeah. It's ultimate sovereignty.
Ultimate sovereignty.
The ultimate sovereignty. And that's
why
I
ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so I know I wanted to discuss this with you guys about the concept of being mavater. If you could define what it means and if that's old energy, and like, because I never liked it my whole life to be mavater. You know what I'm saying? Oh, she was mavater, and that was like a good thing. Can you guys talk about that?
Like, by that you mean giving up on what you want for somebody else?
Yeah, is to like compromise on your own needs for the happiness of someone else, I guess.
So all of these concepts in our interpersonal relationships can apply in a healthy way or in an unhealthy way, right? If we're being mavater to somebody else's klipas or pathology, we're neither helping them nor ourselves, right? But there is a way to do it in a healthy way where it's like, okay, I know that this is not an act of self-betrayal. I know that I take care of myself and I honor my actual needs so I can be healthy and functional enough that I've established a baseline where it's like, you know what, I can make a calculation and actually say, you know what, yeah, I could do this right now. But
Okay.
if we're constantly in this sense of bye, yes, love you, of self, again, like these whole ideas of mysterious nalfash, self-sacrifice, or being mavater, you know, like giving, like, you know, letting somebody else, you know, they teach it in the kids' books, like, oh, you can have the first turn on the swing, you know, whatever it is. Because sometimes we're in that space where we can do it and it does make sense and it is a healthy choice and it's not coming from our pathology or enabling another person's pathology.
That's
Because
great.
if we do that, we're literally not helping anyone. We're strengthening darkness in the world. So it's always about the concepts themselves can be practiced in a way that's either healthy or unhealthy. And I think this really goes into the fact that now where we are in history, what we're doing is like the tov, the good within us, the good within klipa is now in the process of like, hey, now this has to actually really be elevated into holiness. This actually has to be integrated, because what we see in our generation, both in the religious world and in the world at large, is that our desire to be good is what has been co-opted and used to bind us and tie us and make us weak.
Although the desire to do good is one of the best things about us. Isn't it what Hillel says, the famous Hillel? You know, if I'm not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself,
Yeah.
what am I? And if
Yeah.
not now, then, like, it's always in the present moment to make that, if not now, it's now, to make that discernment, like you're saying. And also, you know, Geula, you were Mavater with this healer. Like, the first thing that happened that was clearly brought you to an awareness of, or decision about, more independence for yourself. The first thing was, I don't want to do this if everybody can't do it. And that's being Mavater, right? But it came from a different.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It was right. That was a good way to think about Mavater, because I was like, every single soul on the planet is front lines of Geula right now. That's what I thought. It's too elitist.
Yeah.
That's more what I thought. But it's also, if like, it's where we go when we go all. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? That concept of.
Yeah, but true leader and true leadership, I'm agreeing with both of you. True leadership involves, it is, like I always say to my students, you know, leadership begins with being who you truly are, which is a project, and it has
Right.
different layers of meaning. But it also, part of that is to know, to be so, as you say, Ani, rooted in your authentic being, in a non-charged way, in an authentic way that you can easily discern, which is das, right? Shikula das. And you can then know whether to use chesed, gevura, and in what combination to reach out beyond yourself to do something for someone, or to hold back, which could either be for the other person or for you, or both,
Right.
or how to blend them. So that's really, okay, that's really part of it. What other pathways? I just have to get the most out of you right now.
Well,
What
what
other
comes to mind is Brene Brown, who says the basic definition of a boundary, when you're thinking, should I be Mavater or not? Should I self-sacrifice or not? She says simply, does it feel good or not feel good? Is it okay or not okay? And we all know in a hot second if it feels good to be Mavater right in that second, or if it doesn't feel good. If
really,
people,
it's if are you doing it out of fear? Like, I think a lot of the time on the very
people pleasing, right?
Yeah,
Or,
that's fear. I have to
yeah,
give
or
everything
look like a hero. Yeah.
Or I'm guilty, or I shouldn't. It's all.
Yeah.
So that's really, is it coming from a place of gullus, or is it coming from a place of Geula? Or like you put in,
Right.
sovereignty is one of my favorite words. Freedom.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. What other pathways are there? By the way, somebody said she'd rather negate suffering and illness than death. It goes together. It's just that death is the extreme end. You know, it's the extreme impurity and separation. So if we get rid of death, obviously there's not going to be suffering or poverty or any of that, or sickness. So what other pathways, genuinely, what other pathways do you see?
I think that the concept of simcha, of joy, of holding a frequency of joy, which is really lightness and expansiveness and openness, is a huge piece of it, because and playfulness, being playful, allowing ourselves to be playful and breaking out of the heaviness is one of the best ways to do that. But when we hold that frequency of simcha, of joy, which again isn't like dissociated dancing around with a tambourine, like out of all my kalim, that's his pilus. I always want people to kind of distinguish, like that would be like the ecstasy, right? That's simcha, joy. Joy can turn into his pilus or ecstasy.
Yeah.
But the simcha is more integrated, grounded, just openness. But when I'm in a state of simcha, I can make bolder choices. I can make choices that are outside of my box. And like Simcha Poretz Getter, that joy breaks through all the barriers, because if I'm like feeling light, essentially, I can make like new bold choices and be like, why not? Why not? This could totally work out. And that boldness or that bravery is also, this was so profound to me the other night. I was watching a clinic with a really high, an Olympic horseback rider that I really admire. And he was talking about cultivating bravery. And he said the essence, his name is Boyd Martin, I got to give him credit. The essence of bravery is this feeling of, I belong here doing what I'm doing. And I was like, oh my God, that is so profound. My whole body reacted to that. Is like, in order to really be bold and brave, I have to have, even if I'm also afraid or I'm also feeling doubt, I have to cultivate this sense of like, no, I belong here, and I belong doing this thing, and I belong.
Worthiness.
Exactly. Yeah. But the fact that he described it as this sense of like, no, like, I belong here. Don't question whether you belong. Whatever the thing is that you're trying to be brave about, like, it belongs to you. You belong to it. You belong doing it. And I was like, that is so profound. Oh,
You know what, though, that's what I applied to this woman also, meaning that, let's say she said to me, you're not on the front lines of Geula. I belong there. If I'm not on there, I'm going to work my way, because I know I belong there. I know anyone who wants to be there belongs there.
Right. And sometimes we have to project that sense of belongingness into the things that we are working to co-create with Hashem in our lives and for ourselves. And we have to trust the vision.
You make it. It's kind of like fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Yes, totally. And then, like, as the resistance comes up in the faking, those are our keys to, like, what's the stuff that I have to heal? What's the stuff that I have to heal, essentially?
Oh, there we go.
Well, yeah. What came up for you? What comes up for you with horses that makes you feel unworthy? Like, what do you have to do?
So it's really interesting. So there's a little bit of past life stuff, because there always is with me. But from this time around, as Ani, so when I was riding as a teenager, it was a time of like really profound trauma for me. I was also in a barn full of like, I was about 90 pounds heavier than I am now as a teenager.
Wow.
And so my self-image, I'm in the barn and everybody else is like normal sized or slim or whatever. And I was like very, very not that. And so I had this self-image, this really nibby self-image as a rider. And there was a lot of stuff that I couldn't push past because of it. So by the time and my nervous system was just effed all the time anyways, from like all the developed, like the just traumatic stuff that was going on. So when and then really interestingly, so when I started writing again 2.5 years ago, so all of that trauma popped out of the box and was like, oh, look at all this great self-image stuff. And then on top of that, all of the negative self-imaging that I had internalized as a Orthodox woman, I'm like, showing up at the barn and like riding in a skirt and this, that, and the other thing. And all of the messaging from the outside culture, from our own culture of like, oh, look at this cute little Orthodox woman trying to ride a horse and like plodding around on the pony and so awkward. I had to fight through so many layers of that. And it took me like, it's taken me, I still come up against like shreds of that sometime. So I had to like, it was like a whole level of like all the stories about identity and like, no, let's go into essence and be Shivrachan, as you say, like that freedom of like, I can be whatever I need to be.
How did you lose 90 pounds? I can't keep myself from asking.
How did I lose? Okay, so it's really well. First of all, there's always like spiritual reasons for that. So I truly believe that extra weight was a shmira, a protection that I had, because otherwise I could have been totally pulled down the track of boyfriends and boys and whatever it was. So that it was a big shmira, because I have a very specific mission. I had to get to very specific places. So very specific tikkunim with very specific people. But and then on top of that, it was actually after I found God in college, in my first year of college, all of a sudden, like I intuitively was like unlocking the reality of like who I really am. And as I shifted into that and I started addressing my issues, like I was like 1,000% like eat my feelings and dissociate. And I was just like able to let go of that and shift more into like who I really am.
Wow.
So
That's amazing. That's
I
so
mean,
amazing.
my weight has like, I mean, thank God, like my baseline has always stayed at a normal place. It's, you know, I've fluctuated like 15 pounds here and there, like this past year when I turned to carbs for comfort. So I'm working on getting back in sync with myself in a healthier way. But
That's the holiest diet. That right there is, you know, when they say to heal, you know, any weight issues, it's always a spiritual healing. Any really disorder, the
yeah,
spiritual healing is the
yeah,
lasting healing. So
yeah,
that's what lasts. I mean, you're not going to yo-yo if you healed it spiritually. That's
right.
it.
So what's the essence of healing? I keep throwing the question back into the floor here. What's the essence of healing when things haven't healed? Why haven't they healed? Like all that. What's possible? So I'm tracking this thought that you introduced, Ani, which is obviously true, that there's a deeper level, there's a deeper map within us that has to come out as
Yeah,
to match the new potential that's now in the world.
yeah,
So we're a match to reality, but we're not always revealing ourselves or living as that match to reality.
right. Alignment. I think like healing is ultimately about alignment, like, you know, soul and body fully aligned, desires, beliefs, what I say, think, and feel, or what I say, think, and do, is that in alignment with who I am?
But
What
it's
I'm
not,
looking
do
to.
you find it's hard? Do you use a lot of Iskafia in the traditional sense? Do you use a lot of self-discipline to be aligned? Like if you have trouble with a belief, the belief doesn't match, you get discouraged about something. Do you
Yeah,
always, do you always find yourself like digging in, or do you bounce?
that's another thing that you use discernment to know, like right now my job is to just Iskafia this, like I want to have a tantrum about this thing right now, let me Iskafia that. And then other times it's like I need to go into these feelings of the tantrum and like let them out. So that's another subtle level of discernment, is like, is when do I dig in and do the work, and when is my job just to Iskafia and just go do something else, literally, like
What
go
is a scafia? I don't know that word.
it means like holding back,
Okay.
like holding something back.
You could call it self-discipline. You could probably really,
Self-discipline.
on a personal level. But you know, it's like we're talking about, we're looking at, again, to have a world without death, which by the way is a promise, is one of the 13 principles of faith. It's not only that there won't be death, but that everybody who died will come back, so there never was death,
Right.
in a real sense, and everything else that goes with it up until it. If we have to, this is a question, I'm saying it as a statement, but it's really a question for you guys. If we have to be a match for that, that's a complete and total transformation of all beliefs, all the thoughts that come from them, of all the emotions and all the triggers, of our thought, speech, and action, you know, that everything that we think at every moment, say, and do is aligned with our core desire. Do you see that as our job? Do you see that as possible? And second question, yes or no? Like what are more pathways toward that? Because the idea of constantly struggling with ourselves, that's old model.
Yeah, I think the more we just identify with what it is that we want and like, you know, do what we can to welcome it in and work toward it and allow it to come in, I think that's like short way. Geula?
I say like this, for some reason, my wiring, my brain mindset is already there. I have a certain claircognizance that I had it like switched on right when right when I heard the word pandemic, I'm like, that's bullshit. So that I understand how these claircognizant, like this knowing comes in,
Yeah.
and how it just lands in my brain, and it's my new reality. Like it's very black and white for me. So I know we're not dying. It's a claircognizant hit for me.
Right.
We're not. So when anyone talks to me in regular, normie, everyday conversation, I think to myself, I'm not dying. Like when they talk about, is it like, I'm going to retire at 65, whatever people talk about, I'm like, that's funny because we're going to live for thousands of years and we're going to, so for me, this is my process. I don't know if this could work for everybody. It's just like a switch that went on in my head that this is the new reality. I'm in it. And I filter it through that lens of we're not dying. These bodies, this DNA is getting activated. This dormant DNA that we all carry we're in the process now. It's slowly shifting and it's happening so gradually.
Changing the way we talk is a super important thing.
It's like how Hashem created the world through speech. It's how we create our world is through thoughts and speech. And when you literally change you don't have to sound like a crazy person and say it out loud to everybody. But when people are saying things to me that don't match up with living forever, I correct it in my head. I'm like, no, that's not right. Yeah. They're in the old energy. And that is anchoring it in for myself and for whoever is in my energetic vicinity.
But meanwhile, the Rebbe said this, maybe I shouldn't start the sentence with but. The Rebbe said this 31 years ago, and a lot of people have died since then. So there is...
Yeah, it's not because it's not automatic.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's a choice. It's a choice. Because when
the Rebbe...
Wait.
Because when the Rebbe said it, it was like another one of those things that it's like,
And also, it's optional. Everything is free will. Not everybody wants to go through the shift. I want to go through it.
Everything is free will. I want to go through it. At the core, at that sovereign core, I agree with you and believe that everything is free will. But I don't think that we have, at least I can speak for myself, I've had access to a lot. I have access to a lot. But I don't have free access to my sovereign core, not at least that I know how to control. So I also, I sometimes like the proof is in the pudding. If we're accessing that complete free choice, then anything that we want is manifesting. Then if we have
but that comes from the deeper level of us that has the deeper map. Like I could sit here being a totally unhealed, unrectified Nefesh Bahamas, fantasizing about tons of things. That's not activating free choice.
Right.
The real free choice. The real free choice lives in the deepest core.
Also, if you want the whole world not to die, that's not manifestation is for you and your world.
Yeah, no, I've given up dragging the whole world. I don't get very far, but and I do want I want most of the world not to die, but that's not up to me. I feel like my challenge is to get through whatever this is, this birth canal. Maybe that's a better way to. I don't know. So what do you mean then when you say that it's that we're already there, but it's not automatic? So what has to happen in an everyday practical reality, practical spiritual reality, whatever, to create out of ourselves an aligned match to our deepest desires and purpose and potential?
That Geula vision always comes back to the Geula vision. What is the redeem? What in all the different aspects of my life, focus on one aspect at a time or the big picture, whatever is better for you. What does that redeemed state look like? And then dive in. What are your blockages to it? What comes up around it? Like how can you start choosing in alignment with it? And it's going to take some time. It's going to take shifts because it's an actual upgrade that happens. It's not a magical poof. It's a process that comes through us, happens in our body, a lot of shifting of energy, a lot of feeling of emotions, and you let it process through, and then you can be in a new state. And I know we've all been through that time and time and time and time again and felt the baseline expand and rise. And like you then look back and you're like, oh my God, my baseline used to be like here and now it's like here. And when I crash, I go to here. I don't go to here anymore my crash is now here.
Right, but we're going from finite to a higher level of finite. It's like we're in a bigger snow globe, in a bigger fishbowl. I
feel like that's how we have to start because we don't know yet. It's not clear yet how to get past, right? That it's not clear yet how to get past finite in general. So for me, for now, I'm totally happy with making these leaps from level to level. Because I'm stronger, I'm broader, I'm more grounded, I'm more expansive, I'm welcoming in a lot more. And I'm fine because I wouldn't even say it's linear. It's not linear. It's like like quantum.
No, it's a
quantum
series
leap.
of quantum leaps. It's a series of quantum leaps, but it's all within a certain dimension.
Yeah, but right now I have no clue how to access that, how to access getting out of that. And if I'm trying to, it's driven by some type of human fear. That's not what's being asked from me right now. What's being asked of me right now is to keep making these leaps until something else clarifies. But if I'm chasing how do I get out of here, then it's not, for me at least, it's coming from some type of human hysteria. It's not coming from a truthful place. What my truthful place is asking me to do is keep leaping and keep watching your reality expand, and eventually it'll expand so much that you're like, oh, it's totally infinite right now. Okay.
Right. No, I love what you said in the beginning, Ani, where you said, like, we're already out. Like, view the reality as like, okay, we're out of prison. Like the prison doors are behind us, and look around. Look around for the Geula opportunities there, and like watch your own choices and how they're different. And that's you. It's like you have to measure. Each person is going to measure it on such a different, barometer. It's
exactly.
Seeing yourself react differently, seeing yourself acting differently. That's Geula. It's so subtle. Geula is subtle.
Yes, exactly.
So
we're already there. We're already there.
Wow.
This is why I love Q, because the light won. We won. We're watching it play out. This is why I love Q. This is Geula talk. Q is Geula talk. We're watching the movie play out. Is that not Geula talk?
It's Geula talk.
It is. And I hear what you're saying about it can't be from.
Can I just tell you guys I had a great epiphany?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. I only have 5 more minutes. So it says avodas molech is passing your children through fire. And when I have these moments where the Torah makes sense to certain Q concepts, I'm like, it's like, so adrenochrome, I know we're on YouTube, I hope I don't get, is the celebrity drug that they make from terrorizing children and harvesting the adrenaline from their blood. So I'm like, why was this avoda to pass children through fire? Because it terrifies them. And I'm were they harvesting adrenochrome back then? And it says in the Torah, next level, Hashem commands us, do not drink blood. Why? Why do we even have to be commanded that?
Right. Wow.
And that's where the synthesis of Q and like understanding the deeper level of reality right now makes me understand Torah better.
Wow. Yes. And consuming blood is an Isser Karis. It literally cuts the lower parts of the soul off from all of the higher parts.
Oh, that's what Karis is? I never knew that.
Yes, that's what Karis is. Yep.
Oh wow, yeah. So it's like it's like Hashem's chukim, the things that we never really understood. We're not really supposed to understand, but now kind of make more sense.
Well, we know that in Geula we get all the reasons. So
I know that's the best part of Geula. Can we get the answers? And they come to us from within. They come to us from within, and you know that those are the answers. You don't have to go asking. Like this came to me yesterday about adrenochrome. I just know it. It's another claircognizant hit. I'm like, it has to be. Why wouldn't they, say that they, just sacrifice children? No, they terrified the children.
Right.
Right. Through fire is terrifying.
Right. Wow.
So can I just say one more thought that I had, and then I'll really go. So it says in Pirkei Avos. It's so good, right? So I alluded to this in my video yesterday. I didn't have all the details, but it says Pirkei Avos, the chapters of the fathers. Amar lahem tze'u ru'u ezehi derech yashar sheyid bak ba ha'adam. Go out and see. Tze'u, there's so much in every word. Go out, like go out of your narrow. It says, oh God, okay. Go out and see which is the best way for people to cling to. One of the rabbis says ayin tov. Another one says a good eye, a good friend, a good neighbor, and someone who can see the future. And then the last rabbi, the fifth rabbi, says leiv tov, a good heart. And that's the winning answer, is a good heart. That's the best way. But I said, I like the answer ayin tov, a good eye, because it's a filter. Like Instagram taught us about filters. You can view anything any way you want. So again, with Q makes me filter the world through the white hats are in control. God is in control. And I remember Dr. Zelenko, I had one conversation. I was zocheh to have one conversation on the phone with him. And he understood about the WEF. He understood about the bad
Oh
guys.
yeah, he knew everything.
He knew
Yeah, he
inside and out. And he looked at, this is what I say about Dr. Zelenko. He looked the deep state in the eye and he didn't blink. That man didn't blink.
Yeah.
So he stood against them. But then he went from, he saw everything, all the harsh realities, and then he made this huge leap. Hashem is going to save us. Like, that was his leap. But I say, I need steps, because there's a whole intermediate chunk that he wasn't aware of. I was trying to tell him about Q, and that there's a military operation that is going on behind the scenes, at the Sting operation. They're catching all the bad guys through satellite technology. He couldn't hear me. For some reason, it just couldn't register for him. But he was able to make the step from, this is all the bad stuff in going on, and the Hashem is going to save us. For me, I find that Q helps me have this stepping stool to see how this military operation is unfolding. I see it as Geula unfolding, all the countries of the world uniting for peace to save the world. And that is the mechanism through which Hashem is going to save us. So when I use this what?
That's a part of the how, yeah.
That's a part of the how. That's how I see it. I mean, it's I don't know why some people see it and some people don't. It's a mystery to me. But Jewish people have this framework that's built in that Hashem is going to save us through this Mashiach process. It's sad for me that they don't see this Q plan unfolding. But it's just maybe as it comes more into view that they will. But it helps me. The Q plan, my point is this. The Q plan helps me have the Ayin Tov. Helps me have the Ayin Tova, that I could see the world through this lens that the military, I mean, how many times does Joe Biden have to fall down and say stupid things? Like, I can see it for the movie that it is because I understand about Q. So that's why I try to spread this Q information to people, because it will help them have this faith in the future, faith that we've already been liberated, that Geula is here, that we can access that miracle already. That's, going back to our theme. There's a miracle, a miraculous salvation that had to be as stealth and as invisible as the enemy itself.
Yes. Yeah, and it's exactly what the Rebbe says. Geula is already here. Open your eyes. Shift your consciousness.
I love what you said, Geula, about, I never thought about, I'm still thinking about it, the Pirkei Avos, where uru, that you have to go out and see.
Yeah.
So you have
it's
to
like say ulamad from the Seder. Say ulamad. Go out and learn. Say
ulamad. Oh, yeah. Also.
Yeah.
Wow. I never thought about that. That's really interesting. So you have to go out of the matrix in order. You have to go out of it. That's not what you meant. That's what I thought you were saying. Yeah. You have to get out. You have to step out of everything, your group thing.
Yeah.
Your thing.
Balance. I'm sorry. I
knowing. Okay. Bye.
I'm so sorry.
You have to go on 2 minutes also.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Thanks.
You too.
Okay, any last thoughts here?
I think this was a nice download that I hope everybody will continue unpacking.
Yeah, I just see that we're all in a little bit of a different standing in front of a different door, or a different window, maybe standing in front of a different window. Like, I really feel that, and I hear what both of you, each of you is saying. It seems very true. And at the same time, I'm impatient, and I do think that there are new vessels that need to be created, whether you call that, and maybe it is an upgrade to think of it as revealing the deeper level of my own soul map, my own DNA, soul DNA. There's certainly a lot of reason to think that, but still, like, we're not supposed to be okay with people suffering, including ourselves. We're not supposed to be okay.
I'm definitely not okay with that. But we do have the ability. I mean, we have the ability to liberate ourselves from suffering also, like through, and I don't see anything except for doing the deep dive within ourselves to the part of us that's manifesting and creating that. Because that's, again, where the true sovereignty lies. That's where that map lies. And
right.
that's where we take responsibility, radical responsibility, for the fact that I'm the creator of my reality. So if I want to keep avoiding the fact that I've played some part in the suffering that has manifested, not because I'm bad, but because there's a whole quantum world in me of like, whoa, when you go in, you're going to discover the vaster network of how reality actually works, I think.
Is there any part of your wiring that's not aligned with that yet?
That's not aligned with it. Yeah, there are for sure some parts of me that are like, why can't I just be easy? But all of those parts
Or
of
is it,
me
or even is it totally possible? Is it totally in my hands?
yeah, for sure there's existential parts of me that come up and are like, oh my God, this is really scary. Like, whoa, is this even real? And that comes up when you're making a leap, for sure. And you have to just keep going. Sometimes keep going means rest, means take a freaking break from it.
Right.
Like, that's a big piece. Sometimes
Right.
keep going means actually take a freaking break and rest and recalibrate and don't do anything. And
Which is
that's for
also
sure.
being more connected to what's really flowing from inside or from above.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well,
To be continued.
yeah, great discussion. Okay, thank you everybody for being with us. And if you like this discussion, then please like the video, share with your friends. We really want to help create more of a wave of consciousness that's going to help all of us. Okay,
Yes.
take care, Annie.
Have
See
a
you
great
soon.
day. Thank you.
See you in
Yeah.
a couple of weeks.
Yay, I'm so excited. Maybe we'll sit next to each other and broadcast live.
Oh, that would be fun.
That would be really fun.
Let's do that.
We
Okay.
could trade shackles. Let's trade shackles. And mix it up for everybody.
Maybe I'll bring my blonde shaitel.
Yes, please. We'll have some fun.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, I'll see ya.
Bye.
Bye.